Hi there. Where the hell is Omegaspace, and what in the world is going on? What in the universe, I should say. Well, really quick, I just want to say that there is a combat demo coming out later this month. By the way, the game I'm playing is not Omegaspace, it's called Space Wars, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, problem solved, right? It's going to be basic, but I finally have something coming out. Cool. I would like to expand, though, so hopefully you guys stay past the first 10 seconds of this video to hear what's going on. So I've talked about it a lot. If you're active in the Discord, you will notice that in the last couple weeks I've been pinging more. I've done a couple little tiny play tests for a dev build that I have. First time in years. So in, I believe, August 2023, I released Demo Release 1. This was coded in Lua. There was no TypeScript, or excuse me, there was no typing. The code base was written in Knit. I used Fusion for the UI front end, and the code base was very bad. There's much worse code bases, of course, but it was just way too difficult to add features. So I eventually discovered TypeScript. I switched over to this. I stopped the recode in TypeScript and added something called Flamework, which was the Knit equivalent in TypeScript, except better. I learned about entity component systems. I worked on my own entity component system. That was not great. I eventually wound up using ECR. Finally, I had something that was somewhat decent, but unfortunately this code base became the very thing it swore to destroy. And I realized I had to rewrite it again, which led us to Omegaspace Horizon, which is the current iteration. Originally that was using Flamework as well, however the structure was set up much better. It was using, I want to say not completely 100% ECS, but you know, it's like a hybrid thing, but it's using a lot more ECS, client and server. The other one was only using it on the server. I eventually refactored it to dump Flamework, and I wrote my own networking solution. Pretty crazy stuff. It's pretty cool though. And I also eventually dumped Fusion for React. So we basically have two full recodes, and in the latest recode, I have refactored it twice. So, you know, there's been a lot going on. I also have ADHD, right? You know, I've also just had life factors that have gotten in the way. And also on top of that, especially lately, I just haven't had a lot of energy, you know, but it's a big priority for me and I want to get it out there. So what's going to be in this new combat demo, right? Well, the simple answer is not a lot. The first biggest thing that you're going to notice is that, one, you're going to be able to shoot guns and stuff will actually explode. I know, crazy, right? The second is that the visuals have been dramatically overhauled. And this is both due to higher quality assets and also because I've just been working on a new technology which releases those textures. And by the way, I did some testing and the performance is actually really good. Anyway, so big overhauls. What I'm going to do from the combat demo is probably another couple small releases. I'm going to probably do some fun stuff with, you know, NPC ships and whatnot. But ultimately, this is going to build towards a minimum viable product in the next couple months. And I'll get to that later, but that'll be when alpha officially comes out and it's no longer pre-alpha. Okay? So that's the biggest thing. And then from there, I'll work on adding a lot of features. It's just going to be building features, building features, building features. And then once we got a baseline, you know, hopefully a community going, maybe some income to hopefully build more assets, then we can start adding content and work towards a beta. Okay? So that's essentially what's going on. I just wanted to update y'all because I know it's been 2 years, well, more than that at this point, and y'all really want something to do. I also just need to run tests, right? The reason I'm not going to wait a couple more months to make the combat more robust, which I do plan on doing, right? You're going to be able to blow up individual portions of ships. Ships will fly into pieces. You can blow up turrets on ships, right? It's not just this crap where it's like the ship has one health bar. Like, I hate that. I don't like, it's just not fun, right? I want you to be able to blow the ship into pieces. You know, you should be able to destroy the engines, ruin the hyperdrive, you know, all that crap, right? You know, the reactor should leak, everything, okay? But that's going to take time to work on, okay? And I need to run tests. I need to have a community to be there to support me in order for me to do this. You know, as I said, I don't have a limited energy for this, but it's you know, it's 2025. It's almost 2026, okay? This has got to come out. So I hope you enjoyed my 5-minute video just kind of yapping about what's going on. If you're in the Discord, I know not everyone's been paying attention to that. You know, we have 1,000 people, but not tons of activity. Hopefully we'll revitalize things here. But 2026, is going to be the year Omegaspace goes into beta. I hope at the end of the year, you know, the minimum viable product should still be a lot of fun. But
And I also wanted to say that hopefully with the minimum viable product or even the demo, we can get some income here to, help support the game's development and content generation. I also am going to be putting out a lot of information about the game's lore, which I've already done, and also just a lot of things about the plans for the game and kind of really outlined things, the FAQs, so people can stop asking questions, which I love to answer, but they're always so distracting for me. And lastly, I've done some more organizing. I've got a Trello set up for myself. So, finally, right? This is something I'm taking seriously now. Yeah, like I said, 2026, it's almost 2026. Goodness. I really want this to come out. It's been a long time in the making. I've gotten a lot of attention from Roblox staff, from the Roblox Twitter account. It's got to come out. Thanks for listening to this, guys. I always appreciate the support. To the haters, go hyperspace yourself into the sun. That'll be a thing, actually. I guess what I'll say is to all the Omegaspace captains out there, you'll be able to actually be a captain soon, hopefully. Join the Discord. It's in the description. I guess it's 6 minutes now. Join the Discord. It's in the description. You're going to see a lot more stuff being posted there. Thanks for watching.